about USA?
When I think about the USA, it should burn! Death to America!
The Democratic Party's campaign slogan for 2024. What do I think of America? It should burn. Death to America. Some of them are unwitting dupes, stooges, sock puppets, like Joe Biden, for example. Though he's not actually innocent, he is absent. I couldn't help but be reminded this morning of Nazi Germany. You know, it's World War II for Democrats listening along who recently acquired advanced degrees from major American universities, in particular Ivy League universities. World War II, the Second World War, was a big war in the middle of the 20th century. That's the century previous to the century we're in now, you see. And there are many World War II veterans among us, and to this day, and survivors. My building, Holocaust survivor. As a matter of fact, I think she just turned 96 years old. And wonderful woman. Sturdy, I think it would be fair to say, very sturdy. But I was reminded of, because this is coming out of academia, you know, these Marxists, and a lot of them are self-described Marxists. Some of them even self-describe as Maoists. They literally did. I was talking about one yesterday, a big $785 million left-wing Democrat who's a socialist who self-describes as a Maoist because Marxism not good enough for him. Lawrence O'Donnell at MSDNC self-describes as a socialist. You know, the Hitlerites self-describe as socialists too. The Socialist Workers' Party of Germany at the time. And they pulled together a little thing they called the Final Solution, which was also about the Jewish people. Is that a coincidence? And they had a conference. They had a conference where a bunch of Nazis got together, and they were wearing Nazi uniforms and stuff. So, you know, so everybody could tell that they were Nazis. And then they met outside of Berlin at a place called Wannsee, Wannsee, Wannnsee. And the Wannsee Conference, 1942, was held to pull together the final solution. That was the plan to exterminate the entire Jewish population. That's real genocide, not like the stuff that the left is ranting about in the United States today during the Bolshevik Revolution, ongoing before our very eyes. But the Wannsee Conference was presided over by a Nazi named Reinhard Heydrich. Reinhard Heydrich. The Democrats would wave him in across our southern border right now because he's on Team Democrat. He was an SS leader, a Gestapo leader, a very, very bad man. And he was ordered to put together a comprehensive plan by Hermann Goering for the total extermination of the Jewish population. They termed it the final solution. And 15 senior Nazi leaders met at this estate. And the estate is still there. You can go visit it. There's a museum to what happened there, because 15 members of the Socialist Workers' Party of Adolf Hitler met there January 20th of 1942, and they came up with the final solution. 15 Nazis. I believe 8 of them had PhDs. The number is either 7 or 8 of the 15, I believe it's 8, had PhDs. They came from academia. And what we're seeing on our campuses today also came from academia, and they are calling for the extermination of the state of Israel. And they're propping up, and they are in bed with Hamas, a genocidal death cult of a radical Islamic terrorist organization whose primary mission, so stated in their charter, is the extermination of the Jewish state. And that means the Jewish people, because they're genocidal anti-Semites, and Iran is behind the curtain. Iran takes in billions and billions of dollars from Joe Biden and Barack Hussein Obama. Barack Hussein Obama was, of course, mentored by a communist named Frank Marshall Davis when he was a young man. Then Barack Obama became president. He chose a communist voter, John Brennan, a.k.a. Penitentiary Face, to be the director of the CIA. The CIA was then brought to bear by the left in the United States, that's the Democrat Party, as a political weapon to be used against the Republican Party and the Republican candidate. See, the felonious 51 that signed onto that corrupt letter for which they should have been taken away in handcuffs because they're tampering in our presidential elections and abusing their powers. But I couldn't help be reminded of the Wannsee Conference in January of 1942, where Reinhard Heydrich, who would be a Democrat today, there is no doubt about it, in the United States of America, gathered 15 Nazis who came up with the final solution, and 8 of them came from academia. Now in the United States, it is academics that are driving the train on anti-Semitism, genocidal anti-Semitism, and on another level altogether, the total destruction of the United States of America. I was describing yesterday that the Party for Socialism and Liberation here in the United States, it's a communist party. On the front page of their website, they call for the destruction of capitalism. That's how you know they're commies. And even people that pretend to just be socialists don't call for a total end to capitalism, but commies do. So this is a commie group. And the Socialist Workers' Party, also very much in the middle of all of this. The Party for Socialism and Revolution is in the middle of this. You can see it because their signs and banners are all over the marches and the rallies. They've got they're proud. They're not hiding it. The news media is hiding it because the news media is filthy corrupt, and they're ushering in, I guess, the next civil war will be the cable news civil war, because CNN and MSDNC and so on. But the Party for Socialism and Liberation, their homepage, front page, main page, for the planet to live, capitalism must end. And that's all over the homepage. And these people are all over the marches and the rallies. And our news media doesn't report it because they're that corrupt. They're that intellectually lazy. They're that intellectually corrupt. They're that journalistically lazy. They're that journalistically corrupt. Laziness is really not a defense at this point because these people are all over it. Also, the Socialist Workers' Party, which is a communist organization in the United States, and they are all over this too. And if only we had, and I know it sounds almost ridiculous, almost comical, but it is nonetheless true. There are people that feel that the Cold War isn't over, and they're going to keep fighting the Cold War, and now the Cold War is being fought here in the streets of the United States of America, and they've been indoctrinating and brainwashing young people for generations. I mean, the truth is, at least half the professors were indoctrinated, and they just stay in academia. It's academia, and then they've got PhDs in nothing that anybody cares about, like, Indo-European lesbians of color from the 14th century. And that's their PhD. And then they end up as professors, and they don't teach anybody anything except to be radical, to be anti-American, to be anti-capitalist, to want to tear it all down. And that's where we are, because this is, and make no mistake also, this is the Democrat Party. It's not like you can separate out the Democrat Party from the Socialist Workers' Party or the Party for Socialism and Revolution, both of which are all over these riots, these genocidal anti-Semitic movements that the Democratic Party has unleashed. And where is Joe Biden on this? Last time Joe Biden said anything about it, his last word was he's upset with people that aren't concerned about the Palestinian plight. The Palestinian plight is brought on by blood-drenched savages that would cut your children to pieces while they're alive in order to advance the cause of the jihad. And I don't give a flying hoot about the Palestinian cause right now any more than I would have cared about the German plight in early 1945 while we were bombing the snot out of them, because they're enemies of civilization that must be destroyed. And Hamas is an enemy of civilization that must be destroyed. I should also say the left is an enemy the biggest enemy of civilization is the left. No one has murdered more people in the last 100 years than the left. It's the left that is behind, and that is the Democrat Party. And Joe Biden has no idea what month it is. But it is, what is it? In California, it was Arab American Heritage Month for 2 days because Gavin Newsom. And while UCLA, dyslexia, while the UCLA in Los Angeles, University of California, Los Angeles, the encampments, I was up watching it this morning. I got up at 4:45 this morning and watching what was going on at UCLA when the police came in. And the Democrats say the police are the bad guys and the genocidal Jew-hating morons are the good guys. And they've raised an army of genocidal Jew-hating morons. There are many, I don't know, tens, maybe hundreds of thousands of these people that have been brainwashed and indoctrinated in high school and on college campuses in particular. And ask them about, Reinhard Heinrich and the Wannsee Conference, because full of PhDs from academia in Deutschland, Germany. That's what they call it there, like Kiev. Except in Deutschland, they don't call Kiev, they call it Kiev, but never mind that. And boy, it is, this is a commie revolution, the Socialist Workers Party, the Party for Socialism and Revolution, the trained Marxists on college campuses, the funding agents who self-describe as Maoists and become extremely wealthy in the United States of America, as is the case with some of these people. This is a revolution taking place right under our noses. Now, what would a revolution look like in the United States if the communists came back and launched a revolution in the United States? I've been talking about this for years. If an invading army took over the United States, if the United States took over Cuba during the Castro days, what you would do, and I mean, honestly, if we sent 1 million troops into Cuba, which would be too many for Cuba, the first steps you'd take is you'd go in and you'd take over the radio stations, you'd take over the TV stations, then you would take over academia. And that has been happening under our noses for decades now. And we fund National Panhandler Radio, which is a left-wing front group for the Democrat Party funded by us, the taxpayers, because Republican members of Congress for decades have been too dumb or don't have the appetite to pick a fight and sustain that fight and win it. But the TV networks run by the George Stephanopoulos and the Chunk Todds, who come directly from the Democrat Party. The Jake Tappers, who was a Democrat Party Hill staffer, Chunk Todd, a Democrat Party Senate campaign staffer, his wife, a Bernie Sanders person who has taken in millions of dollars from the Bernie Sanders campaign. Bernie Sanders, who is a socialist, who honeymooned in the Soviet Union when it was communist, but they called themselves socialists too. They murdered tens of millions of people, including millions of Jews, who they enslaved and wouldn't allow freedoms. And we're seeing this play out all over again. The 20th century is not over. It's being replayed right in front of our eyes in the United States of America. And these Marxists, this came up years ago. I was talking about on the radio how some of these people are commies and a nice man called in and he said, my wife and I were listening to your radio program and you were talking about how, there's like communists out there. And my wife said, this man is ridiculous. He's making this stuff up. And he said they went and researched it and spent a day or two looking into some of the things I had said. And then the man called in and he said, and my wife and I, we went through this. And she came back and said, wow, I can't believe that what he was saying was true. But now that they had done research, turns out it was true. There is and it still sounds a bit silly, but there are hardcore lefties, and they're manipulating large numbers of people. They are communist groups. And by the way, China has been funding these universities to the tune of billions of dollars for years now. I was like, to the tune of, sounds like you have to do a New York accent when you say to the tuna. To the tune of billions of dollars. Arab nations the UAE and Qatar and Saudis and beyond funding billions of dollars to American universities. And now we see the rise of anti-Semitism as we have never seen before in the United States of America. And it's anti-capitalist, and it's anti-American. They're burning American flags along with burning Israeli flags. They're raising Palestinian flags. They're raising Hezbollah flags. What is one of their idiot grammar school phrases that they love so much? When people tell you who they are, believe them the first time. All right, and when the police act, the Democrats can't wait to indict the police and blame the police. That's the whole game for them. Because, well, there's a rising fascism in the United States of America. Comes complete with a genocidal anti-Semitism, with an apocalyptic anti-Americanism. And I've got a lot to say about this topic today and a lot of audio to share with you as well that will help, I think, demonstrate what I'm talking about. We are at 888-630-9625.
Do you condemn the anti-Semitic protests on college campuses?
I condemn the anti-Semitic protests. That's why I've set up a program to deal with that. I also condemn those who don't understand what's going on with the Palestinians.
Yeah, if you don't understand what's going on with the Palestinians, then you're the problem. Because they're a genocidal gang of blood-drenched murderers that would eat the brains of children. But never mind that. The Democrats are with them because they're not liberals. They're the left. Let me take a phone call. And then I've got some just crazy audio for you from UCLA and beyond. But let's go to, not the ACLU, but let's go to Greg calling from Olympia, Washington. Gregory, you're on the Chris Plant Show.
Good morning. Where Christianity rules, does society thrive?
Well, that's good.
That's what Richard Dawkins said.
Is that right, Richard Dawkins? Well, where Christianity rules, society thrives. Well, let's look at the world and let's look at the last 1,000 years and certainly the last couple of 100 years. And let's look at the societies that have succeeded, that have prospered, that have thrived, that have created art and culture and literature and science. And let's look at Nobel Prizes. Let's look at libraries and architecture. Let's look at world history. You're saying, Greg, that we've done pretty well in all of this?
Yes, indeed. And Dawkins says that given a chance or a choice between Islam or Christianity, even though he is an atheist, he would choose to live in as a cultural Christian.
Oh, that's right. That was a great line. I'm being reminded by our wonderful, well-educated listeners that in Germany, Wannsee is pronounced with a V, Wannsee. And Berlin is pronounced Berlin, but and Deutschland is pronounced Deutschland. But in English, W-A-N-N-S-C-E-S-E-E is pronounced Wannsee in English. Wannsee in the Deutsch. Deutsche. But never mind that right now. Let's go to, and it is where the final solution was ginned up by the Socialist Workers' Party of Adolf Hitler. And I think the Democrats might call to reconvene Wannsee 2. They could have, or if you prefer, Wannsee Part 2, because the Democrats are well on their way to bringing back the old days, aren't they? And again, self-described Marxists, trained Marxists, whatever that means. Does that mean they're potty trained, or what does that mean exactly? But never mind that. Listen to this, because this got my attention yesterday. The radical left-wing extremists at Mediaite with unity. And kind of funny, my first response was, well, I'll share it in a moment. Pro-Palestine, that's pro-jihad, genocidal anti-Semite Democrats who have jumped on the 1C bandwagon. And pro-Israel protesters chant, "Beep Joe Biden," in unison. I wouldn't say it was entirely in unison, but close. Pro-Palestine and pro-Israel protesters briefly united with chants against President Joe Biden at the University of Alabama on Wednesday. The two sides, which spent the majority of their protest drowning each other out with their respective chants and songs, came together in one moment caught on film. It's video, it's not film. With "Beep Joe Biden." And it kind of reminded us of a NASCAR race from long ago. The video, which was posted on social media by the Crimson White editor-in-chief, Maven Navarro. Pro-Israel protesters could be seen waving U.S. flags and Israeli flags and chanting, "Beep Joe Biden," while the pro-jihad, genocidal anti-Semite Democrat protesters with their jihad flags, and they're on the university grounds. Now, it's kind of a crazy thing because there's a big crowd of people with American flags, and they've got pro-American, like Trump things, and they're on our side. They've got Israeli flags. They've got American flags. And on the other side, standing about 40 feet away from them or so, a gang of left-wing brainwashed zombies who should be wearing armbands, and they're chanting their "Death to America, Death to Israel" stuff because the Democrat Party is waging war inside of our borders. But listen to this, because the moment it was, and a friend sent it to me yesterday, and the moment I saw it, I responded, at long last, it's nice to see a little bipartisanship. So here we are yesterday afternoon at the University of Alabama with the pro-American group on one side, the anti-American racists on the other side that got Democrats, the anti-American racist, burning the American flag and the Israeli flag and chanting "from the river to the sea" and stuff. And then the pro-American side with American flags not burning the American flags. So the pro-American side, they're yelling "Beep Joe Biden." And the other side, the anti-American, anti-Israel side, then started, hey, wait a minute, that's something we agree with them on. A beautiful moment of bipartisanship. Leave it to the University of Alabama to bring about this wonderful, heartwarming American moment of bipartisanship when both sides could agree on something. And what they agreed on was that, beep Joe Biden. Just great. Wonderful stuff. The pro-Palestinian protesters continued with other anti-Biden chants. Isn't that amazing? Including, "Hey, Israel, what do you say? How many kids did you kill today?" That's stolen from the Vietnam War. These people have no idea where any of this comes from. But that is directly stolen from the left-wing pro-communist chants, because the Democrat Party was pro-communist during the Vietnam War. And they used to chant, "Hey, hey, LBJ, how many kids did you kill today?" So now the ignorant, uneducated, indoctrinated, brainwashed little snowflakes were chanting, "Hey, Israel, what do you say? How many kids did you kill today?" And then they continued, "Hey, Biden, what do you say? How many kids did you kill today?" Again, that's "Hey, hey, LBJ, how many kids did you kill today?" during the Vietnam War, because the Democrat Party got us into the Vietnam War and Richard Nixon got us out of the Vietnam War. The Democrat Party, with Jefferson Davis as the president of the Confederate States of America, got us into the American Civil War. And, then Harry Truman used 2 atomic bombs, and he was a Democrat on Japan. And the Democrats are angry about all this stuff, but it's all Democrats all the time. All the racists that whose portraits were taken down from the Capitol, all Democrats that Nancy Pelosi ordered taken down. All the statues of racists, statues and portraits in the Capitol taken down by Nancy Pelosi because they were racist, all Democrats, all Democrats. Amazing. Then they're chanting, "Ceasefire now. Hey, hey, ho, ho. Lockheed Martin has got to go." So you don't like air travel either? because you prefer a prehistoric, pre-industrial age existence, which could be arranged. You could move to the Gaza, you morons. I was talking about this morning. I don't know why exactly, because the left is trying to set us back centuries. I'm talking about, this terrible white men and colonialism and end colonialism and blah, blah, blah. If the European powers, the European colonialists, that is to say, and also what Greg was just talking about, if white Christian Europeans had never come to what we now call North America after it was discovered by Christopher Columbus, and it was discovered by Christopher Columbus, do you think there'd be a light bulb turned on in North America? And I mean 500 years later. If Christopher Columbus had never arrived on a rickety little 100-foot-long boat, do you think there'd be a light bulb turned on in either of the American continents? I can tell you right now, more than 50% of sub-Saharan Africa has no electricity. The 50% that does have electricity has electricity because those terrible white Christian colonial men arrived in rickety wooden ships. And now here we are all these centuries later, and they have, Lockheed Martin airplanes and Boeing airplanes flying in and out, and satellite connections, cell phones, and heart transplants and treatments for cancer. And you're welcome. Honestly, you're welcome. But a great moment at the University of Alabama, a moment of bipartisanship. Didn't last long because there are commies there. Know what I'm saying? Commies everywhere. All right, let's get some news here because that's I just said that. I just said that stuff. Yeah, colonialism, isn't it terrible? Remember that guy, Mr. Beast? He's a 25, 26-year-old white man from North Carolina, I think. And he does YouTube videos. And that's how he makes money. And he makes a ton of money doing YouTube videos. And he went to Africa with some heavy equipment and drilled wells and delivered fresh water to 500,000 people in 5 different African nations so that he could make a 10-minute YouTube video. He accomplished what the federal governments, the national governments of those 5 African nations couldn't do, what the local governments couldn't do, what the United Nations couldn't do, what the World Health Organization couldn't do. And a 25-year-old guy did it to make a 10-minute YouTube video. You're welcome. So now 500,000 people, for the first time in their lifetimes, have fresh, clean, safe drinking water. And the children are not dying of dysentery. You're welcome. Yeah, colonialism, that's the problem. And white men. And what else? Oh, the patriarchy. I love the patriarchy. Patriarchy is the greatest thing that ever happened to humankind. From the Sistine Chapel to space travel. You're welcome. Hey, my mother had cancer 30 years ago, and I just talked to her on the phone this morning. Thank the patriarchy for the phone and your mother. Just saying. Now, the left is here, and the left is anti-civilization and pro-mass murder and pro-gulag, and they're not on the side of the good guys. Let's go to UCLA this morning, the University of California at Los Angeles in the pre-dawn hours, because there are gangs of leftists there that have hitched their wagon to jihadis who are genocidal anti-Semites. And again, the Socialist Workers' Party of Adolf Hitler came up with the original, 20th century anti-Semitic genocide. But now they're back. UCLA today. The police are there. The Democrats are anti-police. Let's blow some stuff up.
Get back! Get back!
You get back. Don't step on my thing.
Get back! Get back! Get back!
Wait, you're standing on my...
Get back! Get back!
Ba, ba, ba.
Get back! Get back!
They're clearing it out a little
Get back!
because the Marxists are there. The commies are there. And they've hitched their wagon to the jihad, the global jihad. Why have they hitched their wagon to the global jihad? Isn't that amazing? They have. I'm reminded also correctly that at the Chris Plant store on Al Gore's Amazing Internet, we have FJB. Remember, it came from that NASCAR race. Remember the NASCAR race where the whole FJB thing started, and it was kind of a fun moment, an accidental moment, because a NASCAR racer had just won. Brandon Brown won his first NASCAR Xfinity Series race. It was October of 2021. When he finished the race, he was being interviewed by a NBC News lady on the television. And while they were interviewing the winner of the NASCAR race live on television, the NASCAR crowd in the background started chanting the same thing they were chanting at the University of Alabama yesterday. And the nice lady reporter had to find some way to smile and smooth it over, cover it up, since it was on live TV.
Thank you to all of our partners. Oh my God, such an unbelievable moment.
Brandon, you also told me you can hear the chants from the crowd. Let's go, Brandon.
It was a funny moment. Now, people condemned her. What was her name again? But she was fun. What was it? Kelly Stavist, I think. The crowd was chanting, beep Joe Biden. And she sort of chuckled and said, oh, listen, they're chanting, let's go, Brandon, because she knew they were live on TV and she had to come up with something. I thought it was pretty funny. I thought she did pretty well on her feet. Some people gave her a hard time. I thought she did pretty well. It was good. Let's go, Brandon. Hey, listen, they're chanting, let's go, Brandon. Same number of syllables. It was a funny moment. But yeah, we have FJB shirts and coffee mugs at the Chris Plant store. And Remember Normal, and lots of other good stuff, too. Wonderful, wonderful. Great stuff. Now, the crazy people at UCLA, tear gas and all kinds of madness from the police, the LAPD, and the California Highway Patrol came in to clear them out. And these people, they had built up a wall around them of plywood all the way around them. And it turned, the police used it to pen them in. It was great. It's like, okay, there's no way out for them. So what we'll do is we'll take down one corner of the enclosure that's like the size of a football field, and we'll go in through there and start yanking these morons out, putting them in tie-wrap handcuffs and dragging them away. And this went on for a great deal of time. With the California Highway Patrol, we got tear gas, we've got stun grenades, got all kinds of good stuff. Wonderful, wonderful. And they're dragging them away. And they're thinking, but what about the Palestinian babies? I don't know, send a check to Planned Parenthood, why don't you? You mental dwarf. The Democrat Party has instituted a nationwide program of mental dwarfism. But I love the way the police went in. It was very intelligent because the idiots boxed themselves in with somebody's plywood. I don't know where they got the plywood, but they boxed themselves in, and the police, got a high position, looked down at it and said, okay, they've penned themselves in like morons. Let's go down, take down one corner, and that'll be our gateway into this area. Shouldn't they say it was soccer field size because they want to be European, and American football is, there's toxic masculinity there. Don't want that. Amazing stuff. Now, I've got a lot of great stuff. I got Senator Tom Cotton for you. I've got a professor talking about where this commie pro-radical Islamic terror stuff is coming from, but it is the Democratic Party. That's kind of a spoiler alert, but I'm going to put more meat on the bone on that matter just ahead. And hopefully barbecue won't show up from Haiti to rip the meat off the bone and eat it, because cannibalism is back, even if Joe Biden's uncle wasn't eaten by cannibals in New Guinea.
We saw only one woman basically give up, basically say, you know what, I want out of here. She talked to a CHP officer, unclear what she said to him, but she said she wanted out, and they escorted her right out.
Bom, bom, ba-dum, bom, bom, ba-dum, 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 bom, ba-dum, bom. Beat Joe Biden. Everyone agrees on that. Let's take a phone call, Michael. Let's go to Ivan, calling from Miramar, Florida. Ivan, you're on the Chris Plant Show.
Hey, good morning, Chris. How you doing, man?
I'm great.
Hey, Chris, I guess Jews and white Christians just aren't welcome with this DEI business. You know, they should be called SDEI for some diversity, equity, and inclusion. Not all, but just some. You know, Chris, I got so angry that the Jewish students were asked to leave the campus. You know, it's almost like the KKK were attacking a black college, and then the blacks were told, well, why don't you just leave? The problem will be solved if you leave. Why don't you just go home? You know, it's like, no, you solve the problem. You don't ask them to leave. And where are the black Democrats, Chris, speaking out, who don't see the parallels of bigotry and hate that happened back 50, 60 years ago? You know, they should be ashamed for not speaking out. It's like, where are the, you know, and we know the answer to that because they're racist themselves, you know, some of them, especially the leaders. There's actually I think they said there was a Jewish entrance, and an entrance just for Jews. Doesn't that harken back to the day? And again, it just annoys me that, you know, more black Democrats or any black Democrats, you know, aren't speaking out. The ones on MSNBC and all that, they're not speaking out about it at all. All right, thank you, Chris.
Yeah, thank you, Ivan. And neither are the Jewish leaders. Chuck Schumer is the highest-ranking American Jew in American government history. He is the Senate majority leader, unfortunately, and he is completely useless. He's the lizard king. But you're absolutely right. This is, you know, and look, it was the Democrat Party then, it's the Democrat Party now.